folks. Thank you for all the likes that I got and all the shares and the subscribers. I've noticed and I appreciate it. I told you I was coming back if you would do that, and you did. Y'all are all coming from Facebook. I noticed. Y'all want the real news, and I understand that. People from Alabama knows what's up, but we do got some breaking news out of Montana. Let me get to it in a minute. Yeah, something's up, guys. A bunch of stuff is up right now, and I'm kind of worried, and you should be too. But I hope y'all enjoy the show. I created a bunch of African Americans for Black History Month, and I hope y'all enjoy. Let's go. Oh, yeah. Shoot, hit the wrong button. Okay. Yes, we have an earthquake, bunch of them in Montana. Get ready. And the cams are not up at Yellowstone. Period. Okay, that's not all. Let's do it again. Getting all my shares in there for my people on Facebook. I am live for the breaking news in Montana and Yellowstone. The webcams are not up, and earthquakes are happening. Breaking news. Subscribe, like, and share, and support this channel for the kids, the women, and the homeless. Period. All right. Let's see here. Y'all gonna want to hear this. A bunch of y'all are. So we're going. We're going. All right. Let's do it. I'm gonna go to it right now. I'll start the. Here you go. Let's start this. Enjoy, guys. This is the Bay Royal Rumble. All right. Okay, here we go. Enjoy. Get out of Montana. Get out of the West Coast, folks. How did that happen?
Hi everyone, I'm Mary with Mary Greeley News. Here's an update what's going on with Yellowstone. The live web camera is not working. It says as of 12:30 Mountain Time, they're going to transfer service over to a new webcam. That very well could be the one that they have in the hotel. And it says they don't know how long it's going to take to complete the transfer. There is a static webcam that a lot of the geyser watchers complain about because you can't see the geysers as well. The ones that are at the basin, I don't know. We'll just have to see. A convenient time, seeing how there is some very unusual activity going on there. Of all the years that I've been watching the uplift, I have never seen two different distinct locations of uplift. This here is Madison River for the last 7 days. This is Yellowstone Lake for the last 7 days. See that?
Mm-hmm.
This is the uplift for Grant for the last 7 days. The only one that doesn't show this type of activity, other than straight up, is Norris Junction. Kind of like people. When all of a sudden people start doing something that's completely out of character, I tell my kids, watch out. Yeah, look at this. Lincoln, Montana has been having an earthquake swarm. Now that's up north. Here's the lake. The largest today was a 2.8, but also yesterday there was a 2.85 kilometers in depth. Now remember, they measured that from sea level. The 2.8 today was 10.7 kilometers in depth. Soda Springs had a 1.3 that was minus 0.1 kilometers in depth, meaning it was above sea level. Old Faithful had an earthquake of 1.5, 5.2 kilometers in depth. 20 kilometers west northwest of Helena, Montana, there was a magnitude 2.0, 12.4 kilometers in depth. Also in Helena, Montana, same location, a 1.7, 14.4 kilometers in depth. Here we have the gas charts from yesterday for Norris Junction. It's not working to take the earthquakes, it's only measuring the gases. Down here is ancient helium and methane. They've known that the ancient helium has increased since 2015. Double from what previous readings for ancient helium was. This is sulfur dioxide. Here we have the spectrogram for Grant. Notice what I see? I talked about the increase in the melt. The magma trying to find a way to break through the surface there at Grant. See that? I'll make it bigger for you. Each line going up and down would be an earthquake that brings up the gases. And see how I'm going to pull this over. It works like a teapot, the spectrograms. The hotter the ground, the hotter the water in a teapot, the higher the pitch it makes. And this is what we're seeing here. Now here's the tilt meter for Grant. Another thing notice, look at the sudden jump it took. The top here measures north, this bottom here measures east. Again, look at that. That's for the last 7 days. This is the last 30 days. See the difference between the last 30 days and what's showing now? The spectrogram for Yellowstone Lake. See the earthquake? This is a signature right here for Yellowstone Lake. This is the borehole for Yellowstone Lake. Yeah, what created this sudden rush of magma, the sudden disturbance at the lake? This is at 22:35. They're not reporting any earthquakes during this time. You can see a small one there. And we got another small one over here. This is what is currently shown. We got another small signature, another small earthquake. About 21:38, another small earthquake there at the lake. Just after 21:03, yeah, look at this small swarm. Now this here is Grant, this is Norris Junction, and this is Yellowstone Lake, not being reported. Yellowstone Lake, 19, maybe about 48, you see this disturbance here, and it continues on, see that? 1950, I'll pull it down so you can see the exact time there. I can get it to pull down. There we go. 1950, yeah. Again, nothing being reported. Unusual activity, unusual uplift, camera not working. Yeah, I don't like it. So I'll make this larger for you for Yellowstone Lake. There's that earthquake, and I've talked about this magma here that's been showing the increase in activity. Look at that. The tilt meter for Yellowstone Lake again. Now this measures north. This measures east. Look at the sudden drop. That caught my attention too, not just the increase in activity in two different locations. And then the tilt meter for the last 30 days. See, it's always been trending together. And then all of a sudden we got this. The spectrogram for Madison River. Now remember, all three of these are showing increase in activity. The only one right now that isn't is the Norris Junction, which really surprises me. So I made this bigger for you. Again, this is Madison River. Another thing I noticed about the tilt meter for Madison River, look at this sudden drop, and then it went back up. Look at that. This is the last 7 days. You know, for a week along, it goes do, and then pop. And then all of a sudden we got this over here. Again, this is the last 7 days. You guys know that each little dot is an earthquake that creates the uplift. And then the last 30 days. Can you see that there? Yeah, it suddenly just dropped. Yeah, I would say that's a big burp in a bubble. And then the last 30 days. See that? And the tilt meter for Norris Junction. See that? Top measures north, bottom measures east. A lot of people are speculating that when Yellowstone decides to first erupt, it's going to be in the area of Yellowstone Lake. The steam from Old Faithful, yeah, it does look a little dirty, don't it? Got another small quake here at Yellowstone Lake. I'm going to show you something else. Here we have the borehole. It's a borehole, a deep well for Yellowstone Lake. And if you look down here, see this signature here? We got several earthquakes. And this is the borehole for Grant. See how you can actually see 2 earthquakes there? This is Yellowstone Lake, and then Grant. Notice the activity here. And then I'll go back to this other one. Again, this is Yellowstone Lake. This is Grant. Earlier, the borehole at Grant, and then Yellowstone Lake. See that? The tilt meter for Yellowstone Lake and the tilt meter for Grant. Grant, Yellowstone Lake. Grant, Yellowstone Lake. Also around the lake, this is Lake Butte. This is Little West Thumb. Lake Butte, Little West Thumb. That's part of Yellowstone Lake. So that's all I have for you right now. Yeah, we're going to keep an eye on it for the next couple of days. If you have any thoughts or comments or questions, put it down below. Please subscribe. Please thumbs up my videos. Please stay safe, and I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.
All right. Let's see here. Let's go to the next one. All right, we're going to go to this one. Breaking news: the Baphomet Bowl. That's right, the Baphomet Bowl. NFL pushing Illuminati goat Tom Brady. Baphomet beer. Interesting. Well, we seen that coming, didn't we? I mean, y'all really thought Donald Trump was a Christian? If he was, we wouldn't be going through all this.
As they call Tom Brady, but the Baphomet. I've constantly, for years now, been talking about Baphomet worship.
Get it right. Wait a minute. Here we go.
I've had a ritual for the whole time that Tommy's been playing.
Sam Adams has actually teamed up and brewed something nice to honor Tom Brady and the New England Patriots ahead of Sunday's Super Bowl.
The beer maker has released limited edition GOAT beer. Of course, GOAT stands for greatest of all time. Strong, brewed in the honor of a strong team with a goat on the label. Too old, too slow, still here. That's Tom Brady. The back of the can, that's what it reads. 41-year-old will play in his 9th Super Bowl, Super Sunday, the most ever for a quarterback. I've had a ritual for the whole time that Tommy's been playing. This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. Well, how much more obvious can it get, right?
Yeah.
It wouldn't be Super Bowl Sunday, of course, without the GOAT. Oh no, not the greatest of all time, as they call Tom Brady, but the Baphomet. I've constantly, for years now, been talking about Baphomet worship, GOAT worship. We are seeing this normalized across all mediums. Music, sports, you name it. We're seeing people like Kevin Hart and Khloe Kardashian and all these celebrities now doing GOAT yoga, right? Yoga, a form of meditation. They channel in spirits with goats sitting on their back. This is all satanic worship, okay? The goat goes back. Look at covers like the Rolling Stones, who have the goat in the soup on the cover of the album. Okay, the goat represents Satanism. It always has. Now they're trying to normalize it with these new generations of kids into thinking it means the greatest of all time. So they're normalizing the Baphomet. They have celebrities like Lil Wayne wearing the Baphomet around his neck, right? They have celebrities like, athletes like Antonio Brown, Baphomet rings, Baphomet necklaces, right? This is all to indoctrinate and get people out there to purchase these things, to wear these things. And then they think, because they're so dumbed down, that it has to do with being the greatest of all time.
Caesar, politician, ruler, man. His is a world divine.
Time. And they're inadvertently worshiping the Baphomet, wearing the Baphomet, wearing it on their shirts, now drinking it in their beer, or drinking a beer that has the Baphomet on it. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. Samuel Adams releasing a beer that has the Baphomet right on the cover. Oh, I'm sorry. It's a goat. It's the greatest of all time. Give me a break. Tom Brady, okay? There are so many things that you could read about Tom Brady on what you would call the dark web, involving children, involving his T12 program, which is supposed to keep him youthful, but really it's adrenochrome, and that's just a front, because remember, most of the things these people do is a front, right? Oh, this is why Tom Brady's 41, looks like he's 25, and plays football like a 20-year-old. Because he does T12, and what's the keys to it? I think it's called T12, his whole conditioning program, which the key is staying hydrated and stuff like that, and then eating certain foods with certain sugars and all this stuff. That's what they tell you. The key is adrenochrome, okay? It's no surprise that this guy rubs shoulders with the elites of elites, not just the owner of the Patriots, Robert Kraft, who's a trillionaire, but you see him hanging out with Donald Trump. You see him at Met Galas, which I've covered before, which are just these satanic Met Galas. You see him on magazine covers, and what's he doing? He's holding his hand over his eye. Oh, did he have an itch? Was he getting an eye booger out? Is that why he was doing it? Was he saying peekaboo? Was he playing hide and go seek? Give me a break. Were all these celebrities doing it? Look at these collages of all these celebrities doing this. Right? They go up to the photo shoot and they're like, what do you want to do, Tom Brady? He's like, I want to play peekaboo. I'm going to cover my one eye. And the guy who takes the picture is like, yeah, that's so original. Oops, wait a minute. Look at this collage. There's hundreds of celebrities on magazine covers and photo shoots doing these symbols and their signals. This is them letting the other people in the brotherhood, in the fraternity of these secret societies know that they're a part of it. And Tom Brady is a part of it. You can see him throwing up devil horns. You can see Tom Brady doing that. And you can see Tom Brady now being referred to as the GOAT. But that all must be a coincidence, right? The Satanic Temple, what's their symbol? It's a goat. It's the Baphomet, right? But they don't worship Satan. One of the reasons most of these Satanists get offended with me is because my old intros have the Baphomet getting destroyed, and it pisses them off. Remember when I happened to come across a Baphomet statue in my town? And what happened to that? Yeah, that was fun. Nothing like destroying a Baphomet, a false idol statue of a goat. These people, if you're new to this stuff and you stumble upon this video, are Satanists. They worship the deity known as the Baphomet. The Baphomet, which you might see and laugh at, is everywhere. They are showing it in Sabrina on Netflix. They are dragging this statue, the Satanic Temple, to courthouses in Arkansas and all around the country to normalize it. Now we have actors, musicians, and athletes wearing these jewelry, the diamond up goat, clearly showing their worship of Baphomet, and then telling the dumbed down audience, because the audience is dumbed down. Let's be realistic. We live in the dumbest time period. The teens out there couldn't be more stupid. And they see it and they go, no, Lil Wayne's wearing it because he's the greatest of all time. The greatest what of all time? The greatest at making poetry rap? Tom Brady's the greatest at throwing a ball, a pigskin? I mean, give me a break. They are indoctrinating with the masses with these symbols. These people out there are wearing these symbols, buying these things, these emblems. They don't even realize that they're inadvertently worshiping the Baphomet. And they're also worshiping the Baphomet based on the belief system that everybody believes in now. Universal love, tolerance for all, right? Remember, the Baphomet is a tranny. It's got breasts and a penis. That's what they worship. Because they want one gender, one religion, one government, one God. The God is Lucifer, period. And now we've got the Baphomet on beer cans. Boy, you see how they just slowly start to use these symbols and stuff that I've exposed. Everyone, not just me, but all of us who expose this stuff too, right? And they just start to normalize it. The eyeball, right? It's like everyone has eyeballs, tattoos, and all. It's like, what? Are you looking in the mirror? You're like, I love my eye so much. I'm gonna get one eye on me, not two eyes, one eye, right? Oh, like the one eye on the dollar bill. That must be a coincidence that it's there. Were they making the dollar bill? Were they like, I love eyeballs, and you know what? I'm gonna put it inside this pyramid, and I put it at the top. What do you guys think? Is that it's great? Put it right on our currency because it makes so much sense. You know, because everybody loves one eye. It's the all-seeing eye of Lucifer. That's what it's there for. And it's the same thing with the goat, with the Baphomet worship. All these metal bands that have goats as their symbol. Okay, this is satanic worship. That's what it is. And if you're so naive to think that, no, okay, maybe that stuff's going on, but this isn't what it means because you love Tom Brady. Or you love sports. You know, I grew up playing sports. Time to separate yourself from it. This is idol worship, and this is Baphomet worship. And I can't believe people are going along with this stuff. I mean, look at all the celebrities that pose doing photographs with goats. I mean, it's unbelievable. All these reality shows.
Hi there. Here at Filter Easy, we get lots of questions like, what?
They're mixing in goats, goat yoga, goat farming, buying goats as pets. And people are just like, oh, it must, they must like the goat. No one's buying, I mean, you can think of the most random thing out there. Crickets as pets, or, why do you think it's the goat? Why is it goat yoga? Why isn't it cat yoga? Can they put a cat on their back? Oh, the cat will jump off? Fine. How about a snail? Put a snail on your back. Snail yoga. Why is it the goat? Oh, I don't know, because they're channeling Satan when they're doing their meditation. It is everywhere. It is all around us. And it's a question of whether or not people want to take the blindfolds off and want to see this stuff, or they want to just keep being naive. Because I'll tell you right now, if you keep being naive, you're going to be, not only are you going to be walked on and trampled on, your soul's going to be damned. Because these people are leading you into satanic worship. And you might say it's the stupidest, oh, it's so stupid. He's talking about a beer can. It's normalizing this stuff little by little. Right in front of your face, you should be able to see it if you don't. And luckily, the people who listen to this channel regularly know this because they're awake and they're aware. And I'm thankful to have these people who listen to this, my channel, in my life. Like-minded people who get it. If you're new to all this stuff, go through my videos. The music videos, the symbol videos, the agenda videos, and you'll quickly see how this all ties together. It doesn't take a rocket scientist, even though they tell us rocket scientists are smart. Yeah, they are smart because they make a lot of money and they don't do anything because no rocket ever goes anywhere but up and then back down. So I guess they are smarter than all of us because they're making probably millions of dollars to do nothing. But they're also eating, what, and doing, what. But I won't say what that is here, but hopefully on a different platform we can start talking more about these things. Again, this is it, folks. Baphomet worship for the Super Bowl. What a surprise. What's going to be next? Is Tom Brady going to come out in the game wearing a goat head on his head? Are the fans in the audience going to have goat masks on? Baphomet masks? Yeah, they will. That's what's next. Watch. It's unbelievable. And, these Satanists get away with this stuff. And I always say this, because the Satanic Temple, the Satanic Church, they pretend and they play dumb that they don't worship Satan. This is part of the trickery because they want people to believe that they're a respectful, credible organization that respects people's rights and women's rights. They suck people in, right? Just like Freemasonry and all this stuff. They give you this impression of something that they're not because they're liars and deceivers. That's what they are. But they have to trick people like this inadvertently into worshiping their God. Well, you don't have to trick anybody inadvertently into worshiping Jesus Christ, because those of us who worship Jesus Christ and believe in Jesus Christ, we have what you want, and that's salvation and eternal life. You guys won't get it. So enjoy your time here while it lasts, because it ain't going to last much longer. And thank you for listening to today's show. God bless all of you and your families.
Free Solo is now nominated for both the Academy Award and BAFTA Award for Best Documentary. It's a masterpiece.
What I've been saying, haven't I? I believe so. Breaking news on Wormwood. Yeah, you heard me. Wormwood. Planet Wormwood system now causing extreme weather phenomenal. No, it's your government doing it. The poles are shifting. I repeat, the poles are shifting.
Science to penetrate the unknown. The greatest mystery is right here, right under our feet. These are the stories that will make you say, WTF.
We all know the story of Noah and the flood. But according to some researchers, there could be as many as 200 different deluge stories from ancient cultures throughout the world. So this begs the obvious question. In terms of science, what single causality could yield such a global diversity of deluge stories? For that we look back to 1940, when a Chilean astronomer by the name of Carlos Ferrada first postulated an explanation that accounts for all of these flood stories. An explanation based on two objects. One he calls the Black Star, and the other, an object he called Hercules, or what we know today as Ru. According to Ferrada, Hercules is a large comet planet charged with cosmic energy, in an elliptical orbit between the two sun system, our sun, and its smaller dark twin, Nemesis. A man of insight, Ferrada tells us that this object does not follow established electoral laws, which in turn explains its bizarre behaviors. He also predicts that during this coming flyby, this massive object will be 1 million kilometers of Earth, and that it will be seen with the naked eye, visible from every point on the globe. Yes, we will all see it, and but when will we all come to believe it with our own eyes? That might be quite another question. Hopefully, it will be in time for us to find safety from the coming cataclysm. The horrific event that is predicted by Edgar Cayce, a great American psychic known as the Sleeping Prophet, prophesied a coming pole shift, which would bring the end of humanity. What would the celestial mechanics of such an event look like? It would probably look like the one that haunted Ferrada in this 1999 interview, late in his life. There are so many things which are unfortunate. Mankind is not ready. Change comes. The destruction comes. And above all, it will affect humanity in its existence, in production, and in its own substance. Watching this interview with Ferrata, you can see the obvious pain of awareness etched on his face. As we all learn more, we all now know the pain as well. The knowing of the horrific cataclysm to come. We know now it will happen when these massive objects pass close enough to gain a lithosphere lock on the Earth, thereby pulling the skin of our planet around. This will cause the pole shift predicted by Edgar Cayce over 90 years ago. As with all journeys, they do have a beginning, and that beginning for us is the first dawn of awareness about what is to come. And for that, we go to the past. In 1940, a Chilean astronomer by the name of Carlos Ferrada first began talking about an object he called Hercobulus, or what we know today as Planet X, or Nibiru. But he also talked about not one, but two objects. Hercobulus is the same planet Zachariah Sitchin, author of the 12th planet, describes as Nibiru, according to his translations of the ancient Sumerian texts. And according to Sitchin, it is 4 times the size of Earth. But of an even greater concern to us is the black sun, as Ferrata calls it, a binary twin to our own sun, that is believed to be roughly 56 times the size of Earth, and it is the core object of a mini constellation we call the Planet X system, which in turn orbits around our own sun, much like a comet would. The small sun he referred to as the black sun is actually a brown dwarf star, known to present-day astronomers as Nemesis. Brown dwarfs are small protostars that lack the mass to sustain hydrogen fusion, like our sun. Consequently, they are very dark stars and extremely difficult to find. That is why they are also referred to as failed stars. In fact, the existence of brown dwarf stars wasn't even theorized until the 1960s. And back then they were initially called black dwarfs. It wasn't until 1988 before the first brown dwarf was discovered. The modern hunt for Planet X began with the deep space probes. Pioneer 10, launched in 1972. Pioneer 11, launched in 1973. These missions established the existence of something of substantial mass, because whatever it was, it had significantly altered the trajectories of both probes. Then in 1983, the infrared astronomical satellite, IRIS, was launched to image that mass. According to NASA, IRIS failed before the mission could be completed. However, several government whistleblowers have since come forward to say IRIS had in fact imaged Planet X. It is also important to note that these whistleblowers are consistent with the news accounts of that time. Most notable was a New York Times article published on January 30th, 1983, which states, "More credence was given to the hypothesis that a brown dwarf star accounts for the mysterious force. Moreover, a brown dwarf in the neighborhood might not reflect enough light to be seen from far away," said Dr. John Anderson of the Jet Propulsion Laboratories in Pasadena, California. Thanks to the efforts of Dr. Robert S. Harrington, chief astronomer for the United States Naval Observatory, in October of the same year, he published a paper entitled "The Location of Planet X." Here, you see Dr. Harrington being interviewed by Zachariah Sitchin, author of The 12th Planet, for a network documentary. In that interview, Dr. Harrington showed Sitchin an orbital diagram for the Planet X system. Interestingly enough, in this illustration, created by Dr. Harrington, we see the description and orbit of planet Nibiru, the very same planet that Sitchin maintains exist, according to his translations of the ancient Sumerian texts. It is likewise noteworthy that Harrington commissioned the construction of a special telescope for a Planet X sky survey, which was constructed in 1991 at the Black Birch Observatory in New Zealand. The observations made were based on Harrington's own calculations, and the films were delivered directly to NASA, and never seen again, and in a
Make the cut.
speaking, neither was Harrington. This courageous astronomer died on January 23, 1993, from a rapid onset of esophageal cancer. Many believed he was assassinated. It should be noted that following his mysterious death, the Planet X topic went dark in the mainstream media, because it had become a death topic. And with that, we now take a big step forward to the year 2006. The SPT, as it is commonly referred to, is a 10-meter in diameter telescope, located at the Edmondson Scott South Pole Station in Antarctica. Simply put, it is the ideal infrared telescope location for observing anything rising up from the southern skies, like the Planet X system and its brown dwarf. The official reasons given for constructing this telescope in the most inhospitable region of the world sound noble, but in fact do not justify the expense. In 2008, a whistleblower posted Planet X images taken with the SPT on YouTube, under the name Nibiru Shock 2012. Here, you see the images he posted in his video that were captured by the SPT in January 2008. What we see is the strong infrared signature of a brown dwarf star, and between 5 to 7 planets in orbit around it. In this close-up, the brown dwarf has a tail. This can be attributed to the fact that Nemesis, the brown dwarf seen here in the center of the image, is surrounded by a massive dust disk. It would likely look similar to this animation. The problem this presents for us here on Earth is that at some point in the future, we will have to pass through this dust disk. According to Zechariah Sitchin's translations of the ancient Sumerian texts, Nibiru is the size of 4 Earths, and according to Carlos Ferrada, the Nemesis brown dwarf, he calls the black star, is the size of 55.5 Earths. So in terms of a pole shift event, where the gravitational force of Nibiru and Nemesis gain a lithosphere lock on our planet, these forces will pull the skin of our planet around and rip them apart. In a 2008 Project Camelot interview, government whistleblower Bob Dean announced that our worst fears would be realized during this coming flyby of Planet X. He claims the Earth would be on the wrong side of the Sun as the Planet X system begins its downward track back into the farthest reaches of our solar system. No doubt astronomer Carlos Ferrada saw this as well, when he predicted that during this coming flyby, Nibiru will come within 14 million kilometers of the Earth, much closer than its last passing. Consequently, the pole shift, as envisioned by Carlos Ferrada and predicted by Edgar Casey, will happen for the very reason given by whistleblower Bob Dean, that the Earth is simply going to be at the wrong place, at the wrong time. The coming event will indeed be a real tribulation for all of humankind. First will come increased seismic displacement of the Earth's crusts, which is already happening now in 2019, followed by increased volcanism, which also is already happening worldwide. Then, there will be the deep impact events that many of our modern astronomers and scientists are warning us about on all the science news websites. Soon after, we will see the magnetic forces of Nibiru and Nemesis as they gain a lithosphere lock on Earth, which will start to pull the skin of our planet around the globe, rearranging the continents as we know them today. There can be no doubt the Earth's poles will shift, just as they have done thousands of times before. This will not be the first or last time that they do. But history has proven one thing: life will continue. When Nemesis does cross the ecliptic on its outward leg to the furthest reaches of our solar system, at this point both Nemesis and Nibiru will be in opposition to Earth. And that is when the combined magnetic forces begin to pull on the lithosphere of our planet, thereby causing a pole shift, in which every major body of water will come out of its basin. All coastal communities will be affected by this event when it happens. During this time, we will see both Nemesis and Nibiru. There will also be catastrophic interactions between our Sun and both Nemesis and Nibiru, resulting in catastrophic solar storms, which will scorch the surface of our planet. This will be a time when we will need to take refuge below the ground. Likewise, there will be terrible impact events all over the world during the flyby, leaving lasting scars on the land and turning our summers into long winters. But the worst yet will be the earthquakes and tsunamis created by the solar onslaught and the ensuing volcanism. We warn those living along the coastlines, death will befall them with brutal walls of water, crashing like hydraulic sandpaper, grinding them apart. Then will come the knockout punch. A catastrophic pole shift, flipping everything upside down, which will be as harsh for those living under the ground, in the safety of their bunkers, as it will be for those living on the surface. For those who survive this flyby, will start to sort themselves out. Mother Nature will wash clean these new lands with powerful rains. And in time, life will come back to the barren wastelands. Life will continue. Then in the fullness of time, our planet will once again become a virgin paradise, lush and green. And humanity will once again hear the laughter of children at play. And who will be the ones to survive this event and to make it to the other side? To see those beautiful blue skies once again. I believe it will be those who have chosen to walk humbly with God. Because the meek truly will inherit the earth. We ask you all this question. Are you prepared for the return of the Planet X system? Will you be ready when the sky truly does begin to fall? Or will you hesitate until there is no more time to wait? We are already seeing the effects of the poles shifting, with the solar freeze happening across America. When will you decide it's time to be prepared? Let us know what you think. We always want to know what you have to say. Like this video, and subscribe to our channel today for even more stories that will make you say WTF. God bless you all.
These are the WTF files. Subscribe today and be sure to like us on Facebook and follow us on Twitter. Thank you for watching the WTF files.
I tried to tell y'all. That's what I've been telling you. The same thing Anonymous just said. So, you can either hate me or like me for warning you. We're not done. Breaking news. Wormwood on live Russia TV. Today's news. Planet Wormwood is here. Must see. Must hear. Hope you're enjoying the show, folks.
Is Planet X an internet hoax? Or is it a fact? Well, you can say that. You can believe in that. But let me tell you, many renowned scientists on Earth have said that it actually exists and will cross by the Earth. The position of the two planets at the crossing will be so close that the Earth's seismic and magnetic activities will be disrupted, leading to global-scale apocalypse, which will wipe out the majority of humanity as well as life on Earth. What's up, guys? This is JT at X Science, and for those who are still in denial of Planet X, many scientists, including astronomers, physicists, and the like, have spoken out directly or hinted at the existence of a rogue planet or a system of planets that is on a trajectory heading straight toward the Earth. For those who are not aware of the topic, we are talking about another planet in our solar system, or our binary solar system, with a star named Nemesis. This planet is called Planet X, Nibiru, Wormwood, and many different names across times and culture. The one thing in common is that it periodically travels through our solar system, during which time it will crosses with the Earth, and this will be a judgment day for you and me, but probably not for the elite. Of course, Big governments and agencies are very well aware of this. In 1983, NASA made headlines on the Washington Post and the New York Times when it announced that the IRS infrared satellite had discovered Planet X lurking somewhere beyond Pluto. The strange thing is, 1 week later, NASA retracted all the announcement and President Reagan made this part of the US national security mandate and forbid any institution or agency to address this in public. The stranger thing is, since then, it is rumored that the US have been building secret underground shelters. Of course, they would not let the public know of what is coming, because how can you control a crowd when the crowd knows that they are coming to an inevitable doom? They, of course, keep us in the dark about the position of the shelters and keep it to themselves. It is even linked that there is an underground rail system linking the capital to an underground shelter under the Denver airport. You can do research about it yourself if you don't believe me, but I have to warn you, there will be a lot of versions and distortion because, of course, they are supposed to be classified information. Russia and China are also rumored to have been building shelters and cities in preparation for war-ending events. Now you might be thinking, if a whole planet is heading toward Earth, how is it possible that nothing strange is happening? Well, that's because the authorities are hiding everything from us. One thing we can all notice is extreme climate events and the ice cap melting that have been attributed to global warming. The second thing is the unusual and dramatic increase in earthquakes and seismic activities around the world. We are, of course, told that they do not increase, but this is because the United States Geological Society lowered the magnitude scale by 1 and successfully report the number of unusually loud earthquakes. Volcanic eruptions has been on the rise as well. You can check out our video on our channels that we talk about the current eruption in Hawaii, which have been going on for 3 months already. Last but not least, this is not very commonly known, but many governments have been spraying substance into the atmosphere. I am not sure what these substances are, but what I know is that these things create a cover of clouds and mist lookalike. The purpose is quite clear. They are trying to hide something in the sky from the rest of the world. Now you have probably heard of the two suns phenomenon, and let me tell you, that is what they are trying to hide. The two suns phenomenon is not an optical illusion, but the second sun that we see is in fact the system of Planet X. From what we know, the sun is either a miniature star or a comet planet, as the famous Chilean astrophysicist Carlos Munoz de Ferrada called it. This thing is said to be composed of a lot of iron oxide, and therefore it looks red. Therefore, as the system approaches, it would resemble a second sun in the sky. Now, speaking of Carlos Mundo Ferrada, he is very well known for having calculated correctly many natural events on Earth and in space. For example, in January 19th of the 1939, he forecasted that there would be a disastrous earthquake in Chile on the 24th of January of that same year, and guess what happened? It did happen.
Captain, discovery is about to be swept up in a time tsunami, which is not as cool as it sounds.
Maximum warp, get us out of here.
A huge earthquake shook Chile for 18 seconds, killing 40,000 people. It successfully calculated many other terrestrial extreme events. But that's not all. It even forecast correctly that Halley Comet's orbit would alter, and we would spend more time closer to the sun in 1996. What's more terrifying is that he said Nibiru is real. He called it Hercules, and he said it was coming. He first mentioned it in the 1940s, 4 decades before NASA's first ever announcement. Now you can watch this very interesting footage, which was an interview with him in his last years. So to sum up the main points, Planet X is, according to Ferrada, a comet planet, so called because it has the mass of a planet, but an orbit like a comet. This thing does not meet the celestial law that is known to man. and it will crosses by the Earth so close that the naked eyes can see it. Mr. Farada also calculated 3 major earthquake points when Hercules arrived, which are the northern areas of the Mediterranean, the southern areas of the Pacific, and Java, Sumatra. You might be wondering, why would a crossing comet planet cause terrestrial seismic disasters? Well, it's simple astronomy. The system of planet X has gravity. That's basic physics. And its gravity is more powerful than that of the Earth, as it approaches, and it is approaching. This causes the Earth's lighter outer core to stall and alter its flow, thus disrupting the normal pattern of the Earth's magnetic activities. This, together with the direct effects from gravity, increases the Earth wobble, which is, for your information, the tilt in the Earth rotating axis. What does this do, you say? Anomalies and stretch in the tectonic plates resulting in massive earthquakes will soon become the new norm. And what follows earthquakes? Tsunami, volcanic eruptions, mass extinction. Yes, in case you don't know, a major volcanic eruption can throw into the atmosphere more pollutant than humans can ever done. A volcanic eruption caused 1 out of the 6 mass extinctions, and another one brought the human population down to 26,000. Volcanoes are no joke, folks. And that's not the end. As the system of Nibiru arrives, its debris and asteroids will enter the Earth's gravitational fields, and the Earth, already devastated by earthquakes and volcanoes, will have to suffer a comet rain. A reminder for you, asteroid impact killed off all the known avian dinosaurs, so it is legit to fear this happening because it will trigger a series of mass extinction causing events, and that spell out doom. Another warning, quite a subtle one, that we received recently is from an English physicist named Brian Cox. Mr. Cox teaches physics and astronomy at the University of Manchester. A bit of background information. Mr. Cox is publicly known as a denier of Planet X. He has publicly ridiculed the theory. Yet we need to be mindful here, because these official scientists and institutions depend on the governments for their livelihood. Not to mention, addressing Nibiru directly is forbidden because of national security. Therefore, it is very likely that all the denial that we see are forced on them by the power that be. Why I am saying this in the case of Cox? Well, he was featured in a BBC documentary in which he explained how asteroids brought water to the Earth and caused the non-avian dinosaurs to go extinct. Then, as the end of the video approaches, the cameras, which were pointing outside a window on the train, pan toward the sky and reveal 2 suns behind the tree line. 2 suns behind the tree line. So they are definitely not lens flares, nor can they be photoshopped. Because why would you spend that much time and effort making a video of 2 suns when you are a public denier of the phenomenon? And that is strange because BBC and Cox himself let that scene pass by in the editing and be published. We all know the second sun is approaching Nibiru, and so this act must be a subtle hint to warn the public that Planet X is actually real. It is not an internet hoax, as these scientists are forced to accuse it of being one. Also, if Nibiru wasn't real, why would NASA keep sending out its top scientists to, say, debunk the issue? I mean, why debunk something unreal? If it's not real, just deny it once and stay silent and let it sink for good. Yet, its top scientists keep publicly trying to debunk and deny Planet X's existence and arrival. I'm talking here about Dr. David Morrison. He is a senior scientist for NASA, and he's recently told the Washington Post that he was sick and tired of having to explain to the world that there is no Planet X, that there never have been a Planet X, and presumably never will be. He supported his claim with the failed 2012 end of the world prophecies. The thing is, doomsday prophecies can never be exact, and a few years is no error at all on a cosmic timeline. Anyway, you can watch him talk about this yourself in the following clip.
Hi, my name is David Morrison.
I'm a NASA space scientist, and I want to talk to you very briefly about Nibiru. It's not real. Nibiru doesn't exist. We can't see it. We can't detect its gravity, and we don't see a signature of its previous passages because there weren't any. So please, get over it. Nibiru isn't real. Planet X isn't real. We don't have to worry about this hoax.
Yet, all of his denial and ridicule and even reported anger get him in. Like I said before, it's not real. Why waste time going around and denying it? And if you truly believe it's not real, Dr. Harrison, why do you seem so tired of your own work? If I wasn't in this field and I didn't know better, I would probably not notice this, but really guys, he is forced to make all this rejection by NASA and the governments. So in short, I just want to say that whether these scientists publicly believe or not believe in Planet X, they all one way or another reveal that they do, and it will be the end of us. So guys, keep looking around you, look to the sky, and keep each other updated with anything that you have. We on our side also try our best to keep ourselves and our guys updated. So subscribe to our channel and stay tuned for the new videos very soon. In the meantime, stay safe guys. I am JT and Excited, signing out. Planet X is just some old material recycled all over and over again. When is Planet X going to arrive? If Planet X is really approaching the years, why does the date of its arrival keep being pushed back further and further? And this delay has been going on for a few decades. These are the most common and annoying counter-arguments that I met along my journeys of informing people about the Nibiru catalyst. Why is it annoying, you ask? Because the answer to these questions is crazily easy, and you only have to think a little bit about it. What's up guys, it's JT here at X Science, and today I'm going to tell you why a specific date for the arrival of Planet X cannot be known. As usual, let's start with the Planet X 101. So for those who don't know, Planet X is another planet in our solar system, or at least a binary solar system. It has 7 satellites orbiting it, as well as a cloud of space debris made up of a lot of iron oxide, rust. And therefore it may look somewhat like a red cloud. Planet X is actually announced to the public by official authorities and agencies such as NASA as a theoretical planet or an internet hoax. However, there are many evidence supporting its existence. Even from before modern time, many mathematicians and physicists have calculated that there must be another planet beyond the known solar system, which causes the orbit of Neptune and Uranus to be somewhat distorted. And so when Pluto was discovered, it was still too small to affect the gas giants in any way. It's obvious. Therefore, there must be something else beyond Pluto, big enough to push and pull the gas giants, and dangerous enough to be censored from the public. Then, in the 40s, we have the renowned Carlos Mundo Ferrada, the physicist who precisely predicted the Chilean's earthquake, announcing that there is another object called a comet planet, as big as a planet but orbits like a comet, which will come into contact with the Earth sooner or later on this orbit. A while back, such an object may not fit our cosmic understanding, but we now know something like that is possible. In 2016, the exoplanet 8027H2 were discovered by Stephen Payne of the Project Genesis Ephemeris Refinement and Monitoring Surveys. This planet is as big as Jupiter, and it swings like a comet, but the farthest point is worth 2.5 astronomical units from its star. Note that 1 astronomical unit, or AU, is 1/2 the distance from the Earth to the Sun. At the closest point, 8027H2 is only 0.06 AU away from its sun. If it was in our solar system, in orbit would be the red eclipse in this photo. Pretty weird, isn't it? Now back to our friend X. In 1983, NASA announced that its infrared satellite discovered another planet as big as many Earth. What is strange here is that only 1 week later, all these reports were rejected, and the US President Reagan made it part of a national security mandate, forbidding many institutions and agencies to address the issues in public. Hence, we have all the reasons to believe in a NASA cover-up going on around here. Then, a while back, the IRAS project scientists once again announced the possibilities of another planet as massive and tame Earth out there. After 30 years of staying silent. All in all, it is quite weird how the authorities approach the issues of Planet X. Now let's go to the dates that have been so far proposed for the arrival of Planet X. First, we must talk about Nancy Lierde. She is the first person in modern times to speak up about possible planetary collisions or near miss. She is from Wisconsin, and she's claimed that as a child she was kidnapped by aliens and received brain implants. She claimed that these aliens were called Zeta, and thus she established a forum called Zeta Talk. This G-Star told her that there will soon be a planetary collision which will wipe out most of the life and civilizations on Earth. And she said the Judgment Day would occur in 2003. So there you have it. 2003 was the first ever date proposed for the arrival of Nibiru. However, it did not come, and people started to abandon this theory. However, Miss Nancy Lierde herself already said that she would not make the real date public because of social security reasons. I mean, it would make perfect sense if you think about it, because the end of the world would cause everyone to panic. Chaos and violence would break out everywhere, and so I think in this case, negligence is really a blessing. Or else we would destroy ourselves even before the Planet X arrives. It is also reasonable to speculate that she is forced by the government to say so to the public. I mean, again, it's a matter of global securities and also group interests of the elites. They will not easily let it go around uncontrolled. A while later, the dates of arrival is fused with the 2012 end of the world event. However, I'm going to make it clear. The date 21st of December 2012 was only the end of the Mayan calendar, and it's not even a complete end, but only the end of a cycle. Never did it indicate that the world was ending. The whole thing was already pointed out to be a misunderstanding of the Mayan culture. People also become afraid because some astronomical alignment would take place at the same time. And so these afraid people do what afraid people usually do. They panic and confuse many things for one another. And so Planet X is fused with the end date of an ancient calendar that has no world-ending meaning whatsoever. In fact, several other world-ending theories were associated with this 2012 event, not Planet X alone. To name a few, we have a solar maximum, and even something as far-fetched as an interaction with the Earth and the black hole at the center of the Milky Way galaxy. I mean, the galactic centers is 25,000 light years away, and somehow they think we can come in contact with a black hole that big without feeling anything decades in advance. Up to now, you can probably tell that all the other dates you have heard are confusions and chores. They are really a big challenge for us, people who want to inform and convince others. You see, all these delays keep making people lose faith, and therefore they start paying attention to the science, and they start listening to what the elites want them to listen to. So the message I want to convey here is choose your source of information carefully. A lot of people just want attention, or they simply don't have a good source of information and they themselves become confused. You also need to keep a lookout for your physical surrounding, or the phenomena such as the increase in the water, anomalous tidal activities, seismic and volcanic activities. They are clear evidence of something big that is coming and whose gravity is affecting us in many ways. So why can we not know a date of arrival? Well, the information is limited and we can only base our calculations on the little leakage that we have, as well as the blur dots that we have to connect. So that's basically it for today, guys. I hope this answers your questions of why the dates for Planet X keep being pushed into the future. So if you see any dates out there, check the source and how the date is supported, and keep in mind that it is probably a hoax or a confusion, and don't let it make you lose your faith. I mean, it only comes from people who want attention or are not informed, so why would you lose your faith for that? Stay safe, guys, and keep looking to the sky. Also subscribe to us because we have new videos coming out very often. This is JT and Anxiety signing out.
Crazy, ain't it? Yep. Pretty bad. Pretty sad. I'll check something. Yeah. Thanks for the subscribers. That's weird. Somebody's in there. I don't see them. Huh. Interesting. Kind of figured that. Something with this. What in the world's going on? Okay. What is going on? Something's up. Let me read this.
Hey, Andy.
Yeah.
It's ready. Supper's ready.
All right. Thank you. Yeah, they're shadow banning me. I noticed people are watching and it says nobody's watching. So, thanks for watching, everyone. I just wanted to see what's going on. Yeah. See how it goes. They think I'm stupid. Okay. Well, we're not. This is a long match. It's gonna be a long pay-per-view. I made it long for y'all. We got a lot of news. Alright, more breaking news. Putin. Vladimir Putin news.
New year? How about a new?
It's big too. World War III around the corner. Ukraine sends tanks and fighter jets to front line as Russian invasion fears grow and is closing in. All right, this is interesting.
Now at Townsend Honda, lease the 2019 Honda Accord LX for just
Ukraine sends tanks and fighter jets to front line as Russian invasion fears grow. Ukraine has deployed dozens of tanks and fighter jets to face down Russian-backed separatists in its Far East amid fears Vladimir Putin is preparing his forces for an invasion. Reinforcements have been sent to strengthen Ukraine's security forces on the front line of conflict against insurgents from the self-proclaimed Donetsk People's Republic, DPR, and Eastern Donetsk Oblast. With the military support of Russia, militia from the DPR have been fighting against Ukraine's armed forces for control of the region since 2014. Tensions between Kiev and Moscow have come to a head in recent weeks after the Russian Coast Guard seized 3 Ukrainian ships in the Black Sea, damaging already frayed relations. Daniel Besnov, a spokesman for the DPR Defense Ministry, said the mobilization of tanks and aircraft suggests Ukraine is preparing for an offensive in the region. Over the past 2 days, the tank and mechanized battalions of the 93rd Mechanized Brigade unloaded at the railway station Konstantinovka, having increased the grouping by more than 60 units of tanks and infantry fighting vehicles, the DPR spokesman said. Meanwhile, Ukraine claims the Russian buildup of troops, tanks, and artillery pieces along its border indicates an invasion may be imminent. Last month, Ukrainian President Petro Poroshenko said the shipping incident in the Black Sea was an extraordinary event in the context of Moscow's recent aggression. The president has brought martial law into effect and put Ukraine's armed forces on full combat alert in response to the explosive skirmish. He said, because Russian military activity and tank deployments have dramatically increased along Ukraine's borders, the armed forces have been ramping up preparations in case of a large-scale ground invasion. In a stern warning to Putin, Poroshenko said Russia will pay a huge price if it attacks Ukraine, which split from the Soviet Union in 1991 after the Cold War. Ukraine-Russia expert Alexander J. Motel, professor of political science at Rutgers University, Newark, believes Putin may order military action to improve his flagging credibility. He said, because Putin's unpredictability, we cannot discount the possibility of a massive Russian invasion of Ukraine. Russia has faced a firestorm of condemnation from the international community over the incident in the Black Sea, with many Western leaders calling for fresh sanctions against Moscow. Kremlin officials have reacted furiously to the incident, accusing Ukraine of staging the very dangerous provocation as a pretext to provoke a conflict. Moscow said the alleged breach of Russian waters was planned and Russia will strongly respond to similar provocations. Kiev accuses Moscow of trying to impose a de facto economic blockade on its ports in the Azov Sea to weaken it as part of a hybrid war against Ukraine. The countries have been at loggerheads since Russia seized Crimea from Ukraine in 2014 and backed an insurgency in the eastern Donbas region that has killed more than 10,000 people despite a notional ceasefire. Tensions have increased in the area this year, with Ukraine accusing Russia of persistently detaining ships sailing to and from its ports on the Azov Sea.
We got a stark warning today. A report says that the U.S. has lost its military edge and could lose a war against China-Russia.
Your values of love, charity, and faith built this nation.
You're in the Air Force, right?
Marines, actually.
How long are you here for?
A few weeks.
30 seconds left. Just get us in field goal range.
I have a
run along the entire northwest corridor.
What's going on? Get to the cabin. Take care of your brother. Go now. Go. Why are you still
If you're seeing this broadcast, you are in a part of the country no longer controlled by the government of the United States.
The first thing we need to discuss at some length is the rise of China. It's certainly making the press these days. People seem to understand that something's happening in China, but most people are not fully aware of the full breadth and depth of what's happening in China. In fact, most of the people in China do not understand the historical implications of what's going on. China is the next great country in the world, whether we like it or not. There are a lot of people who do not like the rise of China. The 19th century was the century of the UK. The 20th century was the century of the US. The 21st century is going to be the century of China.
The United States lost over 3 million manufacturing jobs, nearly a quarter of all steel jobs, and 60,000 factories after China joined the WTO. And we have racked up $13 trillion in trade deficits over the last 2 decades. But those days are over. We will no longer tolerate such abuse.
What is this?
We will not allow our workers to be victimized,
Really?
our companies to be cheated, and our wealth to be plundered and transferred.
Shoot, that was good.
America will never apologize for protecting its citizens. The United States has just announced tariffs on another $200 billion in Chinese-made goods, for a total so far of $250 billion. I have great respect and affection for my friend, President Xi, but I have made clear our trade imbalance is just not acceptable.
That's what I
Does
call
this
him.
news from Apple, put more pressure on the president to make a deal or not?
I think there are two ways to look at it. There's the White House way of looking at it, which is that the problem U.S. companies have is that China's economy is slowing down, and the reason China's economy is slowing down is because the tariffs are working. In other words, Trump is winning his trade war.
And this is what I was just talking about. Look at the precision.
That's China coming to kick your ass if you don't work together, black, white, Hispanic, Muslim. Y'all upset with black and white, but you need to stand up and take out these Chinese piece of shit.
Christians to renounce their faith. This persecution, just the latest attempt by Beijing to crack down on all religion. In August, the United Nations said China could be holding more than 1 million Uyghurs and other Muslims in internment camps for, quote, political education. Beijing says the camps are vocational training centers, bolstering economic growth, and of course, they say it's for social mobility.
So let me state this right up front. A Trump administration, our Christian heritage, will be cherished, protected, defended,
Right.
like you've never seen before.
We'll see about
Today's
that.
broadcast, U.S. groups say dozens of Christians were detained following a raid on a Protestant church in southwestern China.
I haven't seen it
It's
yet.
the latest example of the communist government cracking down on religion. One report says in the past few months, Beijing has taken down 2,000 crosses from houses of worship.
And we know that families and churches, not government officials, know best how to create a strong and loving community. And above all else, we know this. In America, we don't worship government, we worship God.
Well, love it or hate it, there's no denying that cash purchases are on the decline. Our ABC correspondent Karen Travers provides some insight on this new cashless society.
It's never been easier to go cash-free. Pay a bill at a restaurant, catch a cab, send money to a friend with just a push of a button. Peer-to-peer payment services are exploding.
Tens of millions of Americans use them every year, and it's growing very fast.
No.
Ask anyone for change for 20 bucks,
Only
and many times you
people on
won't get
fake
it.
news
That's because
does.
a lot of people don't carry cash anymore, and they're not grabbing credit cards
Really?
either. Instead,
I carry
they're
cash.
using their smartphones. 13 News Now reporter Erin E.
I'm an
LeBeau
old-
takes a look at
I
the
like
trend
old-
that could
old
lead
lady.
to the dying dollar.
What's in
Sorry,
your
I don't
wallet?
want my
Just my
money in
debit card,
electronics.
my ID. I have
Them
nothing
control
in
your
there.
money.
I carry very little information.
Not happening.
Credit card and cash.
It's a question I pose to people on the streets of downtown Norfolk. I found that very few people actually say cash. People are relying more and more on paying for things mobilely with their smartphones.
But I trusted Apple Pay because I've used it before.
Apple Pay, Venmo, and Google Wallet to name a few. All are mobile payment apps that allow you to pay for things by flashing your phone.
I honestly didn't trust it at first, but it's proven itself to be a reliable source to pay with. So I think in the future it might even make debit cards obsolete.
According to a study by strategy and research firm Javelin, mobile payments are expected to grow in the U.S. from $180 billion in 2016 to $410.5 billion by 2020.
A rise from humans microchipping themselves. This is the mark of the beast.
Yep.
Listen, let me tell you something. I mean, I'm no biblical scholar here, but it's amazing the parallels made. Now listen, let's get down to brass tacks. Would you, not you, I wish they'd stop with this. They go, we're going cashless. We've been cashless. Where's this cash? You ever buy a house with cash or a car?
I do.
We've got this. I don't even have, I got a couple of bucks. We've been cashless, but that's not the issue. One of these days, these kids, I think you call them millennials or something, they're going to take these little tiny RFID, radio frequency identification chips, about the size of a grain of rice. And they're going to be cool, Scotty. Oh, they're going to be waiting in line overnight to get implanted. And they're going to say, look at this. I can go to the drugstore. I can go to a cab. Isn't it great? How cool am I? Look, I've got this little embedded chip. And they'll say they have medical records. And you're going to do that to grandma and grandpa in case, God forbid, they have some kind of dementia they're walking off. I mean, after all, we have it in our dogs, right? It's like OnStar for human beings. But here's the catch. One of these days, God forbid, Scotty, they find you guilty of something.
Yep.
And you go before a court.
Mm-hmm.
And they say, we're going to sentence you to prison?
Yeah.
No.
Nope.
We're going to turn your chip off.
Yep.
And you don't exist.
Not just that.
Everything. In fact, people...
Not just that. They're going to inject poison in you. Death by, not electric chair, but death by the microchip.
Are going to notice that when you walk up, they're going to say, who is this? You're not registered. You say, it's he. What do you mean, who is this? No, you're not showing up on this. You don't exist. If you think I'm kidding, this is Elba. This is like some type of a prison. And people are going to be, one of these days, enslaved by this chip that will replace you.
By 2020, China plans to give all of its 1.4 billion citizens a personal score based on how they behave. So some people with low...
And what did Barbara Walters say? Welcome to 2020. Welcome to 2020. When you get to 2020 and you get that chip, you're George Soros's bitch. You're already George Soros's bitch because you went to being Antifa bitch.
Scores are already being punished if they want to travel. Nearly 11 million Chinese people can no longer fly, and 4 million are barred from trains. Next week, the program will start expanding nationwide. Ben Tracy is in China with what's behind the government scoring system. Ben, this sounds like scary stuff. Good morning.
Yep.
Good morning. The government here says it is trying to purify society by rewarding those who are trustworthy and punishing those who are not.
Hi there. How you doing?
I am wonderful.
I am so sorry. That flight is canceled.
No.
Customer incident at the other end.
So when is the next flight?
Yeah, they're all kind of full.
I booked this weeks ago. It's my best friend's wedding.
I'm sorry.
And if you're on drugs or if you drink and you get a drunk DUI, they cut your chip off.
I have to get there. I have to.
Okay, let's see what we can do.
Thank you.
I see there's one standby seat on another plane leaving tonight. That's reserved for members of our Prime Flight program. You got to be a 4.2 or over to qualify.
Oh, I'm a 4.2.
I'm afraid you're actually a 4.183.
Well, that's not my fault. Some woman dinged me down in the counter. Can't you just...
I'm sorry, it won't let me book it without the correct ranking.
But it's still closed.
There's just nothing I can do.
Christ, I mean, surely.
I'm going to have to ask you to moderate your language there.
Sorry, it's just... I'm maid of honor. I cannot miss this wedding.
That's what's happening in China.
I'm so sorry about that.
And the EU.
Can you call the supervisor?
I cannot do that.
Can you just call the supervisor?
I cannot do that.
Call the fucking supervisor.
Okay, that's profanity. We're zero tolerance on profanity.
I'm sorry, it's just...
Yeah, I have to serve the next customer.
No.
Step away, ma'am.
You've got to fucking help me.
Uh-oh.
I'm so sorry.
I've called security.
Yeah.
No, please don't do that.
The Facebook
sorry.
police.
Upstairs?
What's the issue here, Hannah?
Intimidation and profanity.
Oh, no, I was not
Intimidation,
intimidating.
yeah. Profanity. Bullying, I guess you call it.
In order to restore calm, I'm invoking my authority as airport security to dock you one full ranking point as a punitive measure. This is a temporary measure. The score reverts to normal in 24 hours.
No, but I need it now.
Period. All downvotes are subject to a times 2 multiplier. We recommend you avoid negative feedback at this time.
I'm on double damage.
Please, remove yourself from the airport immediately.
You take that microchip, this is what's going to happen to you. I think it's funny because y'all thought it was going to be a toy. You're kissing China's ass. What? What? What?
因为他们都犯同样的错误，原来使得他们成功的原则背道而驰。美国政府企图以庞大的开支和税收来摆脱严重的经济衰退，巨额的所谓刺激开支、庞大的医疗改革、政府接管私有企业、债务累累。当然，我们是他们的大债主。现在他们都得给我们干活。
What? Didn't hear you, Tom.
The United States Commission on International Religious Freedom says Christians in China are facing an alarming escalation of persecution. This week, Public Security Bureau police invaded and shut down Zion Church in Beijing. Moments before that raid, this sign appeared just outside the church sanctuary. Now it looks like this. PSB agents removed the sign. No church here. Members of Zion Church were not deterred. Although authorities closed their building, they continued to pray and worship outside in the street. Also this summer, other Christians throughout China have seen their churches closed or demolished. Government officials have arrested church leaders. They've confiscated and burned Bibles, and they're still removing crosses from atop church
You're an idiot
buildings.
if you are.
What in the world is going on in China, and why now?
China sold out to the New World Order. I'm a bitch. They are. Interesting, huh? Yeah, pretty interesting. Let's go to the next part of the news, which we got a couple more things out there. Oh, breaking news: wildfires, victims living in RVs. Told you this was happening. Or they're going to FEMA camps and they're cutting your head off if you don't take the microchip and be George Soros's bitch.
So it was me,
Oh, shoot.
one other mom, and 12 boys. Pranks were big. They came in third, but they had.
Here we go.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary with Mary Greeley News. This is outrageous. Wildfire victims living in RVs told to leave burned out properties. Hundreds of Northern California wildfire victims desperate for housing and living in recreational vehicles on their burned out lots were ordered off their property Monday after federal authorities threatened to cut off funding for the state's biggest natural disaster cleanup. Well, that fire was nothing natural about it. The Paradise Town Council unanimously rescinded a 2-month-old law allowing residents to live in temporary shelters on their burned-out properties before the lots are cleared and certified safe for habitation. The unanimous vote Monday occurred after an emotional and tense meeting that was the first in Paradise City Hall since the November 8th fire.
And remember, the meteors and China's drones that owns the West Coast and the Midwest is being on fire on purpose, so you will go to the FEMA camps, they take your land, and they kill you because you didn't fight back.
Destroyed most of the city's 27,000 people. Our town is struggling already, and this adds more hurt, said Councilwoman Melissa Schuster, who lost her home in the fire and is living with her husband in an RV on their property. The council reversed itself after a top federal management agency official warned the city that $1.7 billion in federal cleanup funds could be withheld if it allowed residents to live on burned out properties before they are cleared of debris and certified safe. cleanup crews began the gargantuan task of cleaning 15,000 destroyed homes last week. In a process expected to take a year, it'll probably take longer. I'm asking you not to throw the people of this town out into the cold in the middle of winter. Paradise resident Ben Walker told the city council. If the option is to choose federal money to rebuild the town, or the people to rebuild the town, choose the people. Butte County supervisors took the same action later in the day, ordering dozens of residents living in temporary shelters to leave their properties until they're cleared of fire debris. David Samanigo, the FEMA official in charge of the agency's wildfire response, told local authorities on January 24th that allowing the RVs into Paradise jeopardized public health and safety. In November, Butte County Health Officer Dr. Andy Miller warned residents that fire debris is hazardous and advised them to stay away from their properties until cleared. Butte County and Paradise allowing its residents to reoccupy their property prior to fire debris and hazardous materials being removed from their property is in contrast to Dr. Miller's warning. Samanigo wrote on January 24th, warning officials that federal cleanup funding was in jeopardy. Schuster said the city council passed the ordinance in December allowing residents to live in RVs out of desperation. Thousands of residents remain without long-term temporary housing while the region tries to rebuild. Schuster and her husband purchased an RV after the ordinance passed and moved out of their daughter's house and into the RV on their Paradise property. Schuster said she hired a contractor to clean her debris rather than waiting for the government support crews to get to her property. She said her property is mostly cleared and she and her husband are awaiting inspection and certification. So she's hopeful they won't have to leave. Schuster and other Paradise officials said they don't know how the change back to the old rules will be enforced, but said authorities are trying to schedule crews to clean those properties as soon as possible. It takes about 2 days to clean debris from a lot, but up to 2 weeks to complete and inspect and certify the property safe, Schuster said. I think Paradise should be a city that it's like, the heck with the government. I mean, quit having mama government tell you what you can and can't do. I think people need to band together and help each other out and get their properties cleaned. So what are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Please subscribe. Please thumbs up my videos. Please stay safe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless y'all. Bye-bye.
I believe she's right. I believe she's right. Mary Greeley on fire today. That's absolutely great news. Well, actually, bad news, but it's great news for me because everything that I've been saying has been coming true. So, whatever. Okay. The secret messaging of the NFL.
Here's a little tip for you.
Yeah. The secret messaging behind the NFL Super Bowl 53 Illuminati commercials for 2019. I tried to warn y'all about this, but y'all didn't want to listen.
Never fly first class. It ruins flying and coach forever.
And never take Joe Manganiello.
Get to the CIA. Let y'all listen to CIA since y'all
That's the funny
enjoy
thing about better. Once you try
kissing their ass. Yeah.
This is a call for an uprising. Welcome to today's show. I told everyone I would cover the Super Bowl commercials because the propaganda is always running wild, brother. When it comes to the Super Bowl commercials, that's because the largest audience every year tunes into the Super Bowl. There's actually zombies out there that actually tune in because they want to watch the commercials as opposed to the game. So they actually tune in to be brainwashed, which is pretty amazing, but tells you a lot about the world we live in. The common themes are the ones that I discussed earlier. It wasn't as brutally over the top as expected. Of course, the main theme being feminism. There were feminism commercials and transhumanism commercials. And of course, even Google had their commercial about love, right? Happiness, which I'll get into later on in the video. But let's start with the feminist agenda. Okay? The feminist agenda, which they're pushing, and women's empowerment. Here's a look at a few of them, including Serena Williams talking about feminism. And then I want you to take a look at this trailer that they showed for the Handmaid's, is it called Handmaid's Tale? Hold on. Handmaid's Tale, which is based on a book, which is now a series on Hulu. And, well, take a look for yourself at some of this feminism.
Don't wait to be told your place. Take it. Don't wait for people to find you. Find them. In work. In love. In life. And most of all, don't wait to be given power. Because here's what they won't tell you. We already have it.
It's morning again in America. Today, more women will go to work than ever before in our country's history. This year, dozens of children will be born to happy and healthy families. It's morning again. It's morning again. It's morning again.
Wake up.
Listen carefully.
This is important.
It's a warning, in fact.
Never fly first class. It ruins.
America, morning's over.
Okay, so you see Serena Williams saying, women have the power. This is just more nonsense to brainwash women. That's all that it is. They don't care about women and women's empowerment. They care about depopulation. They care about breaking up homes.
That's true.
Okay? That's what they care about. They care about dividing men and women. But The Handmaid's Tale is interesting to note. Let me read you the plot of this if you're not aware. This is directly from its Wikipedia plot, so let's see how accurate it is. But based on a 1985 novel, it was ordered by Hulu, 10 episodes. Okay, that's not so much the plot. Here's the plot. In the near future, fertility rates collapse as a result of sexually transmitted diseases and environmental pollution. With this chaos, right, of course, order out of chaos, the totalitarian government.
And where did he get Order Out of Chaos? George Soros's book. But he's doing right now to the whole world.
Rules in the former United States in the aftermath of a civil war. So these are all things, obviously, that is predictive programming, right? We've seen the Civil War predictive programming. We see them trying to divide us between men and women, black and white, Mexican, Hispanic and white, everything, right? And they've been pushing civil war through all of these movies. They've been pushing things like the Purge, right, and all this type of nonsense, which is just about, it's all propaganda, right? So they say society is organized by power-hungry leaders along with a new militarized regime of newly created social classes in which women are brutally subjugated by law are not allowed to work, own property, handle money, or read. Right, so this is more women's empowerment crap, and of course, around this time period, they would bring this back, right? Make the book and turn it into a series. So these women are supposedly chosen to give birth to the elite's children because people aren't able to have kids anymore because of all this fertility rates, right? Which ironically is what's happening in today's world. Fertility rates are way, way down. Miscarriages are way, way up. And that's not because all of a sudden, somebody farted in the air. It's because they're dumping chemicals on us and feeding us chemicals. That's why fertility rates are down. And no other reason. Okay, but they don't mention that. They say it's from sexually transmitted disease and environmental pollution. All right, give me a break.
Y'all ain't gonna believe this. Speaking of that, did you know AIDS is not even real? How about that? Ebola is not even real. But chemtrails are, and that's what's making you sick. That's what's making you have AIDS or cancer or whatever you want to call it. I wanted y'all to know that, folks. Sex does not mess up AIDS. I promise you that. I should know that. Let's keep on.
So these women are chosen. Now, this is what I want you to notice about it. You can see in the trailer that they're marching. These women are marching. These women who are chosen, they're not allowed to read, they're not allowed to work, they're not allowed to own property. They're pretty much making it seem as if these women are slaves to the elites. The Washington Monument, which is ball shaft, Okay, the Washington Monument, which is 6,660 inches tall, 666 inches wide. You can look it up for yourself. Inches, remember, if you look it up. Something they've tried to cover up recently because so many people were waking up to the fact that that's what the monument's there for. Notice how they turned the Washington Monument, this satanic monument, into a cross.
Yeah.
Right? They put a cross across it to make it look like a giant cross. Now, why do you think that is? Now, I don't watch the show, and I doubt many people do because it's probably absolutely horrendous.
Yeah.
But could they be trying to say in this new regime that takes over, the elites are Christian? These are Christian men who are forcing these types of laws and restrictions on women.
Oh yeah. After I went off the air, something broke big. They are considering Ivanka Trump as the president of the banks. If this is true, then everything that I've been saying about 666 Fifth Avenue, which there's a story about that today, and Jared Kushner is your Antichrist, and she is your bank. She'll be controlling your money. Like if you do anything wrong, you won't get your money, or out of your RFID chip or your microchip or whatever you want to call it. Like I said, better go back to cash. Let's keep on.
Men, well, of course, that's what they're saying. And that's why the Washington Monument is no longer the Washington Monument and is erected into a gigantic cross. This is to brainwash people who watch these shows. That's all it's for. To say, oh, look, this is what the future would look like in a Christian society run by all of these Christians if we don't stop it. Women won't have rights. Women won't be allowed to read. And these elite people who control the government and the money, they're all Christian, right? Kind of like the way they portray it now, because most of these politicians pretend to be Christian or Catholic or whatever, right? They come out and they go, I go to church on Sunday. Meanwhile, these people are all in the occult. These people are all Freemasons who worship Lucifer. So I thought that was interesting. They show that in the trailer, that the Washington Monument, which is a satanic monument, has been erected into a cross, and they're saying that it's in this suppressed time period where everything's just wild and crazy, and a new regime has been set up after the Civil War, and it appears to be a Christian regime of extremists, and women aren't allowed to have any rights, right? So how's that? Unbelievable, right? Now let's move on to the transhumanism. Every year they do more and more with the transhumanism stuff. There were plenty of commercials. I chose to show you this one.
Wakey, wakey, Papa. Wakey, wakey, Papa.
Oh, child, it's 3 a.m. Go back to bed.
I am hungry.
You're not hungry. You don't eat, Robo-child.
Yes, I can, Papa. I want a kale salad with chicken and guac. I know guac is extra. Hashtag living my best life.
Robo-child, the world isn't ready for you yet. Your time will come. I love you.
I love you too, Papa.
Child, all TurboTax Live CPAs are human beings with real emotions. I'm sorry, but you're never going to be emotionally complex enough for that job.
Is that true, Papa?
Yeah.
I am sad.
See what I mean?
Sad.
Still perfecting emotion.
Now, why do you think they're doing this? There are multiple commercials by TurboTax where they're having this baby robot, right? And her dad is this guy, and he's trying to teach the robot to be real. And they're kind of saying, well, we're close, but we're not there yet, right? They say, oh, the robot doesn't have emotion. It doesn't know how to cry. The robot starts to laugh, and he says, oh, we're getting there. We're making progress. This is them normalizing transhumanism. They do it every year, right? And it's not just at the Super Bowl. Mixing robot and machine, the evolution of these robots, making it seem all happy and friendly. And hey, you can have a child robot. Hey, if you can't have kids, you can have a child robot. Hey, if you can't find a woman, you can have a sex robot, right? And everybody's falling into this thinking that this is all wonderful news. Like, oh, robots, how cute. And robots' lives matter. That's how insane.
Okay, first of all, who can afford robots, sex robots, or robots to work for you and stuff? These robots are only for the elites, not for you. So if I was you, ladies and gentlemen, I wouldn't stop dating who you're dating. In fact, you're going to need them when China comes in here and beats your ass.
Our world has gotten. So they're normalizing this multiple commercials with robots interacting with humans, showing emotion, learning. I mean, this is just continuing. You know, we're on the road to this being just normal for people to have robots, to be in a relationship. I mean, it's insane, right? But this predictive programming has been going on for a long time. You know, take movies like Terminator and iRobot. It goes on and on and on and on. All right? And finally, there's just this one commercial, and it's not a huge thing, but Google always loves to do these commercials, whether they're pushing, gender equality and trying to make it seem like women don't.
Due to the citywide outbreak, you are advised to take shelter at the police station.
Anybody here?
I like the sound of that.
We're getting out of here. Leon!
My mission is to take down Umbrella's entire operation. They're secretly making bioweapons.
Count me in.
Available now for PlayStation 4, Xbox One, and PC. Rated M for mature.
Don't have rights in today's world, or racial division and making it seem like there's a big race war, which is created by the media, created by people like Google. They have this commercial, and they're talking about, in a hateful, awful world with all this stuff going on, the top search terms are thank you and I love you.
Oh my God!
Words that can hurt and sometimes divide. But every day, the most translated words in the world are how are you? Thank you. And I love you.
I mean, give me a break, right? And this is how Google comes across. Oh, Google's trying to save the world and change the world. And, oh, I love you, right? The love one, stuff I talked about at the halftime show. I always talk about Antichrist coming in the name of love and world peace, right? It's the elites who create all the friction, who create all the wars. Then the Antichrist will come in the name of peace and bring peace to the world, tear down the walls, all of this stuff. That is what is to come. But I found this to be one of the funnier commercials during it because Google's just going, I love you, and oh, we're such a great company. And they don't mention anything about how they restrict free speech on here.
Right.
They should do a commercial and say, hey, we're Google and we're taking away free speech, because that's exactly where all this is coming from. All this restriction and hate speech is started by Google, created by Google.
That's right.
So those are just some of the commercials that I saw. Feel free to comment in the comment section below if you saw any that I didn't mention. I sat through all of them. There was obviously a couple others I could have added in there, but I didn't want to stretch on any. I mean, most of them were really pushing feminism with lead female characters, some of which they weren't flat out saying feminism, like the Serena Williams one is saying, we're in power now, that kind of crap. But there was those, and then obviously the transhumanism, and there was other commercials too pushing love and all that stuff, and hope and self-empowerment. But those are just basic ones that we always see. So those are the Super Bowls. Those are the agendas that they continue to push, and they will continue to push in 2019. If you're not aware of this stuff, or you're new to the channel, check out my videos. So you can see the repetition that's being used on you. It's the key to mind control is repetition. They're constantly using the same themes over and over, and that's why it's easy for me to do a video 3 days before the Super Bowl and tell you what you're going to see. It's not because I had a sneak peek of the videos or the commercials. Okay? All you got to do is look at the news every day and see what agendas are being pushed and realize that that's what's going on. I was a little surprised to see they didn't do too much Trump propaganda, which I figured would be in there. And but that was more the theme last year with the wall. There was a commercial about the wall last year. And maybe they felt that it would be too over the top. And people, because listen, the more they push, the more people wake up. They have to be careful how they push people's buttons. So that was Super Bowl commercials for this year. I hope you enjoyed today's show. Thank you all for listening. God bless you and your families.
That's not a badass show right there. Holy crap, he's right. Hope y'all enjoyed that. Oh my gosh, we're not even done. What is next? That's interesting. Breaking news. Children are using unsafe amount of toothpaste. Like it's fluoride. So therefore you're getting cancer. If you take anything like that, it's medication. Yeah. Don't know if y'all knew that or not. I use white strips and they're better than fluoride. All right, breaking news. And what did I tell y'all in my other YouTube videos? Yeah, that Donald Trump helped do the 9/11 plot. This video is unbelievable. This is ex-CIA reporting it. Trump, cornerstone of evil, built on the pit of hell. 9/11 plot, and everything else that I have been saying is coming true. And now here comes out another video that's going to back me up. Here we go. Enjoy, and you might want to spit your popcorn out because he's not a Christian. Never was.
Is here with Pluto TV. Join millions of viewers watching over 100 TV channels of hit movies, comedy. Today we're going to look at this Trump 666 Fifth Avenue connection before Jared Kushner was even born. 666 Fifth Avenue was originally called the Tishman Building, and Tishman Family Construction Company business built both 666 Fifth Avenue and the World Trade Center. What you will see next is the 1960 short film called Skyscraper, which documented the entire construction of 666 Fifth Avenue, and what you're going to see will simply blow your mind. The building also appeared in many other evil films, such as The Exorcist 2, How to Murder Your Wife, Godspell, and The Wolf of Wall Street. In the early 1980s, the two T's, Trump and Tishman, met to talk business. Mr. Tishman walked to Trump Tower at 725 Fifth Avenue from the Tishman Building at 666 Fifth Avenue to talk to Donald Trump's brother, Robert, about becoming the construction manager for the Trump's casino projects. Donald then entered and confidently bragged to Tishman that taking the Trump job would be good for his firm and that would put them on the map to be associated with the Trump brand. Tishman then joked that he didn't need Trump's endorsement. He had built the World Trade Center. This was in the 1980s when Jared Kushner was a toddler. So you see, Trump's connection to 666 Fifth Avenue went much further back than Jared Kushner. And the World Trade Center construction, those very familiar with the internal design and function, would have had to be involved in the access to that building for any pre-wiring or setup for demolition. And now you see that New York was a much smaller place than you can ever imagine. Now watch and listen to the film Skyscraper from 1960, the documentary of 666 Fifth Avenue, and prepare to have your mind blown.
Magic City, climbing high, shining walls reflect the sky. Magic City, and the sun, and the sun, and the sun.
What you just saw was the New York monument to Minerva, who is also Sulis, the sun goddess. Worshipped in modern times by Wiccan and pagan communities.
As the darkness on the run, we're going to chase the shadows, erase the shadows from our city now. Old facades must pass away. Old facades must pass away. Like the horse, they've had their day. Old walls tumbling into dust. Old walls tumbling into dust. Signs proclaiming date we must. All that stood is falling fast. All that stood is falling fast. We're moving from the past. It's going bright the city, light the city, bright the city now.
this picture?
Almost.
Where am I?
Not you, Murphy. You'd break a lens.
Break a leg.
Not you, Murphy.
Murphy, another name for the devil, fitting for a 666 building.
Not you, Murphy. You'd break a lens.
The builders there built the building. They went to see the architect who started the wheels rolling. You know, it took 3 years advance work before you men came on 666.
666.
Every detail was worked out to the decimal before you men ever heard of the job. Then the old buildings were torn down.
Torn down.
And one day we began to dig. Boy, that's one big hole.
Boy, it's deep.
Largest excavation ever dug on Fifth Avenue.
Largest excavation ever dug on Fifth Avenue.
You gotta dig way down, 40 feet down.
40 feet down. 40 feet down.
You gotta dig way down below the ground. You gotta blast that bedrock out of your way before you start to climb. You gotta dig that way.
What's this?
You don't know how steel comes in, Leone?
Me? I run a shovel.
Well, it comes up the river on barges and it's loaded on trailers.
Almost tumbling into dust.
Santa Claus!
Now this is where we were ready for the walls. For the first aluminum panel.
Hey, you know, I always wondered, why do they put those bumps on them?
For strength, Murphy.
Listen, do you really like them, Mr. D. Simone?
Mr. D. Simone. Mr. D. Simone.
Well, as a matter of fact, I do.
Aluminum has an atomic unlucky number of 13 and is controlled by a very powerful Illuminati aluminum cartel.
Anything different takes time to get used to, and new materials are one of the few new ideas in skyscrapers in the last 50 years. No maintenance ever once you get them up, and they go on fast.
The slim towers were also coated in aluminum, a highly reflective and conductive surface.
Great thing about them, just take them out of the boxes, slide them into place, and bolt them on. Okay, you sold me, Mr. D. Simone. I'll take one.
Sweepers, handlers, holders, mixers, shifters, heavers, fillers, bracers, borers, loaders, lifters, pushers, pullers, pilers, packers, nailers, diggers, builders, busters, boxers, plasters, TNT.
So today, 18 months from the time ground was broken, the building opened. More than 2 million people have worked directly or indirectly on it. These people come from every state in the country. Much of their work has been done in places far from the city. Now our tenants will come. Visitors will come from every corner of the earth. And so another skyscraper takes its place in the city.
But when the sun is falling low and the dusk descends, my Manhattan, lovely eye, and I know her spell is cast, her spell is cast, like the moth I'm shown to her haunting blaze, through the darkness, see her shine, my Manhattan, mine tonight.
It is clear to me now that New York is a ritual site in which all the people in power act as witches and warlocks, builders and masons,
to orchestrate events at our expense. They build, they destroy, and out of that, they build order out of the chaos.
Sounds like to me, I was right on 9/11. What do you think? Breaking news.
Are you?
No, I'm not serious. Sorry, I hit the wrong button. Breaking news: crash in Daytona Beach, 11 injured. Okay. Breaking news: more deadly earthquakes traveled at super.
In the day, the smell of
Oh, shoot, I'll get it right in a minute. At supersonic speeds, San Andreas Vault in danger. Warning. I tried to tell y'all that last night. Here we go. Sun flares are heading toward Earth again, folks. Again. Get ready. More earthquakes are coming.
Hi everyone, I'm Mary with Mary Greeley News. Here's some information that may wake a few of you up that are not prepared for a major disaster. Deadly earthquake traveled at supersonic speeds. Why that matters. What happened in Indonesia can also happen along the west coast of the U.S., Chile, etc. When the earthquake struck on September 28, 2018, Indonesia's Sulawesi Island flowed like water. Currents of mud swallowed anything in their path, sweeping away entire sections of the city of Palu and cross-cutting the region's neat patchwork of crop fields. Minutes after the shaking began, locals were caught unaware by a wall of water that crashed on shore with devastating results. As the sun was setting that evening, thousands were missing. Within a day, the smell of corpses permeated the air. The 7.5 magnitude event was 2018's deadliest quake, killing more than 2,000 people. In an effort to understand how this fatal series of events clicked into place, much attention has focused on the surprising tsunami. But a pair of new studies published February 4th in Nature Geoscience tackles another remarkable aspect. The earthquake itself was likely an unusual and incredibly fast breed of tremor known as super shear. The Paula quake cracked through the earth at nearly 9,200 miles an hour, fast enough to travel from LA to New York in a mere 16 minutes. Such a fast rupture caused earthquake waves to pile up in what's known as a Mach front, similar to the pressure wave from a plane traveling at supersonic speed. This concentrated cone of waves can amplify the quake's devastative power. Stephen Hicks, a seismologist at the University of Southampton, explains the phenomenon by grabbing a colorful flyer sitting on the table at the American Geophysical Union fall meeting in Washington, D.C. He makes a tiny tear on one side and says, "Imagine that's your nucleation, or the start of a rupture on a fault. The rupture speed is how fast that point moves through time," he says. And with a sharp jerk, he rips the flyer in two. That's the speed that caught geologists' attention with the Indonesia event. Ampero and his colleagues harnessed the power of the growing global network of seismic stations, which detect the echoes of earthquakes from hundreds of miles away. From that network, they collected data from 51 locations across Australia. By studying the arrival of earthquake waves at each station, the team recreated the racing rupture. It's similar to how your brain figures out where a sound is coming from. Ampero explains, if someone is talking to you from the right, the noise arrives at your right ear a fraction of a second before your left. Your brain then uses that delay to locate the speaker. What we're doing is the same, but instead of using 2 ears, we're using hundreds of ears, he says. Each ear is one seismometer on the ground. This revealed that the tremor broke so fast that the rupture speed overtook a type of radiating waves known as shear waves, thus the term super shear. Over roughly 36 seconds, the quake cracked southward through some 93 miles of Earth's surface. Geophysical observations show that the speed at which the earthquake ruptures along a fault is either slower than S waves or almost as fast as P waves. The latter, so-called super shear earthquakes, occur very rarely and can produce very strong shaking. Only a few have been observed, and they happen on faults that are remarkably straight geological superhighways that present little obstacle to speeding earthquakes. That is the ground breaking that fast, which is pretty amazing, marvels Hicks, who wasn't involved in the research. Earthquake superhighway. A second team took a closer look at changes to the surface after the tremor ripped through, using data and imagery from satellites before and after the event. We were immediately struck by the sharpness of the rupture at the surface south of the city of Palu, and by the great amount of displacement in this area. Study co-author Anne Souquet of the University Grenoble Alpes in France writes in an email, "This analysis suggests that the land largely shifted horizontally, and that the change was massive. The ground offset by 16.4 feet at its maximum point, south of Palu City. The shift so large, it is easily seen in images of the post-quake. Roads were offset, buildings seemingly cut in two. This is definitely huge for a magnitude 7.5 earthquake," Souquet says. And this is likely enhanced by the fact that this earthquake was super shear. It didn't happen just at the surface either, but also as deep as roughly 3 miles underground. In the southern stretches of the fault, an important feature behind this rapid speed and the deep shift is what Souquet calls its maturity. Tectonics have tested this break time and time again, continually shoving the blocks of Earth side by side and carving the fault into a fairly continuous, smooth, straight break. Features previously associated with other examples of super fast ruptures, enemy of super shear. Yet even within this category of rare events, Palu quake may stand apart. Most super shear earthquakes actually travel even faster than the one in Palu, cruising along almost as fast as another type of earthquake wave known as a pressure wave. These commonly zoom around 11,200 miles an hour. But the Indonesia quake was fast enough to be super shear. It didn't hit this top speed. It's extremely rare to see events in this intermediate range, he says. And Puro and his colleagues believe the discrepancy is due to the fact that the earthquake models, including the one used in this work, commonly assume that the rocks surrounding the fault are one intact unit. But that's not always the case in the real world, where zones of fractures on the break can slow the speed of a quake's associated waves through the surface. If true for Sulawesi, this would mean the quake's pressure waves could have moved about as fast as its rupture speed, as is expected for super shear ruptures. The quake was still really slow for super shear, but at least its waves and rupture would have moved at the right relative speeds. However, the scientists won't know for sure that this was the case without more study in the region. That's not the only thing unusual about the event. September's earthquake also seemed largely undeterred by two major bends in the fault. Zigs and zags along the rupturing fault usually slow earthquakes, like cars on a winding road, but not this one. And unlike most super shear breaks, which needs a little warm-up, the Palu tremor seemed to hit its galloping pace early on. This earthquake is like a Lamborghini, Bond said. It goes from 0 to 60 in no time. This behavior raises even more questions. Could the fault be straighter at depth? This would have helped it barrel through the bends higher up. And Bureau notes, did smaller foreshocks supercharge the big quake? This could have sent it galloping out of the gates. But this early speed could also have to do with the roughness of the fault, which could stick the sides together like the rough sides of sandpaper and cause the ground to break with the extra OOMPH. More to come. These unusual features make this earthquake all the more valuable. since they can help researchers better understand both where and how superfast quakes can happen. The scientists who reviewed the work all stressed the significance of this information for future modeling and hazard assessments, not just Indonesia, but around the globe. What happened here could likely happen on other faults, especially major plate boundary faults, says Eric Dunnan, a geophysicist at Stanford University. This type of fault is the same one we can find in California, northern Turkey, northern Aegina, the Dead Sea Fault Zone, Central Asia, says earthquake geologist Sotiris Vakunides, who is not involved in the new studies. The detections from this earthquake apply worldwide. Here we have an image of a super shear fault that's capable of having a super shear earthquake. On the San Andreas Fault, this is northwest of Los Angeles. There was another one in Russia. Now this paper is from 2014. Another talks about the San Andreas Fault, which is over 300 kilometers in length. This is why for Washington and Oregon, yeah, it can be so dangerous. They could have a super shear earthquake. Yeah, and they tell you that you got time to run from a tsunami. I don't think so. So what are your thoughts? Put your comments down below. Please subscribe. Please thumbs up my videos. Please stay safe. And I'll talk to you later. God bless you. Bye.
What do you think, guys? You really think I've been right on all of this? I mean, been doing the best I can on this. But guys, that is it for me today. I was on here for 2 hours and 20 minutes, a lot longer than I was yesterday. I was testing some stuff out. I hope y'all enjoyed the show. Please keep on liking, subscribing, and sharing. You asked me to come back on live, and I did. Just keep on praying for my family too. And the ones that's been donating to me on Facebook, you know who you are. Thank you. If it weren't for y'all, I wouldn't be here. Y'all take care. God bless. And the ones that's disliking, you're disliking because you're jealous. And you don't want to know the truth. And you're only in here to troll. Go troll somebody else and grow up, Michael. I know who you are. And I know where you live. And I've got your address. Michael from Texas.